Hello, a very good evening and welcome to Love Talk. As usual, my wife and I, we're here together. It's a little bit windy.
A lot.
But we are here together to talk to you about relationships, and it's always a pleasure to be here together with people to talk about the love that comes from faith.
Yes, it's an intelligent love that has nothing to do about how you feel and what your heart tells you to do. We spoke about this before. Your heart always wants to do what's not good for you. So we are here today with another very important lesson.
And we thought we would start with a question we received. Let's read the question now on the screen. I'm about to get married in 4 months, and I recently discovered that I don't really know what my fiancé does with his money. He earns more than I do, but I still don't know where the money goes. Is this a big problem? What should I do? Well, it is a big problem. It is a big problem because when you start dating, you don't expect the person to tell you everything about their finances, how much money they have in the bank, how much they earn. But when you're about to get married, it's a different story because your plan is to buy a house, to be independent. You have to know every penny that comes in for you and for him. And if he's hiding what money he has, how much he earns, where that money goes, then if I were you, I would be worried. Is that enough for you to call off the wedding? Maybe he's hiding the money he earns, how much he earns, because there's a deeper secret. The bottom line is you need to get to the bottom of that. Why is that happening? Because who knows what you might find when you dig? And that could be a problem of character, and that's a serious problem.
Like you said, there might be other secrets. It shows that, you see, this is just the tip of an iceberg. You have no idea what's underneath the water. It's much worse because, like you said, there might be other secrets. There might be, this is clearly fear to trust you also. He's showing you that he doesn't really trust you with his finances, his truth. So that's not a very good sign. That's a red light. This is not going to work out when you get married.
And some people might say, but Bishop, that's his money. He says it's his money, it's his privacy. That was his money, his privacy, before you plan to get married. But when you get married, everything is common to each other. Your money is his money is your money. Mm-hmm. So usually when someone doesn't want to reveal the reality of their finances, they're hiding something. It could be a debt they don't want you to know that they have. It could be an expenditure with something they don't want you to know that they have. So you shouldn't accept the excuse that, it's a private matter. The moment you decide to get married and you know each other enough to take that step, there is no such a thing as a private matter.
Yes, there could also be another family.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to say, but we do see these things happening nowadays.
It's a very good point.
You were saying, there might be this, there might be a debt, there might be another family. There might be another wife, you know what I mean?
Children that the person doesn't know about.
Exactly.
An addiction.
Yes, you have no idea. Don't commit your life, don't give yourself to someone who is not willing to give himself or herself to you.
And most of all, don't be afraid to ask. You're not breaking any rules, you're not doing anything wrong. Ask. Mm-hmm. And if the person is not sincere, then you have two choices. Either call it off, call the wedding off because something is seriously wrong, or go into this wedding, but you're going to go into this wedding completely blind because who knows what's hiding behind the fact that this person doesn't want to reveal these things to you. Okay?
Absolutely.
We're going to listen to a song. When we come back, we're going to share with you the topic of today. Some people say, Bishop, I'm praying for God to change me. What if I tell you that this is the wrong way to go about things? We'll tell you more about this in just a second.
still can find the answer anywhere, biting off the lie that no one cares. Anyone who's out there losing hope, feeling you're forsaken and alone, clinging to the last strands of your rope. May God give you eyes to see He's still greater, courage to rise and believe He is able. May God be your peace in the fire you're walking through. This is my prayer now. This is my prayer for you. All those with tired and weary souls, but still have faith to ask for miracles, choosing to believe is in control. May God give you eyes to see He's still greater, courage to rise and believe He is able. May God be your peace in the fight you're walking through. This is my prayer now. This is my prayer. May God give you eyes to see He's still greater, courage to rise and believe He is able. May God be your peace in the fire you're walking through. This is my prayer now. This is my prayer for you.
Hello and welcome back. How many times have you heard people say, Bishop, pray for me so I can change? Or I'm praying so that I can change something about myself. But have a look at this Bible verse. Therefore, put to death the parts of your earthly nature. The interesting thing about this verse is that it doesn't tell you to pray for those parts of your earthly nature to die. It tells you, it gives you the responsibility to kill those parts. When you say, I'm praying for this about me to end, you're taking away from you the responsibility to change that in you. It's you that has to do that. And notice that the Word of God is not saying that it's a sin. Sometimes it's just something about you that can damage a relationship. For example, when a person is selfish, they only think about themselves, it's not seen as a sin. But if you're going to be in a relationship, that will damage your relationship. If a person is someone who likes to point out other people's mistakes and remind them of their mistakes, it's not known as a sin, but it's something that will cause you a lot of problems. And a lot of people say, Bishop, I've prayed about this, but I haven't changed. So surely God knows this is how I am. My husband knows this is how I am. And that's wrong. Because God gives to us the responsibility to put to death these things that are part of our nature.
It's like someone says, oh, like you said, you mentioned, oh, I need to change this and that. I have this problem. I have this temptation, this addiction. you know, Pastor, I'm fighting. Every time Pastor asks you, oh, how are you getting on? Are you changing? Have you changed? Oh, yes, Bishop. Pastor, I'm still working on it. You know, God will help me. No, it's just an excuse for you not to do what you have to do. Actually, change is a decision. Change is you realizing that what you're doing is wrong. And you do it most of the time because you want to do it. It's about habit. It's about decision that you make every time you decide to do that thing. So God has nothing to do with that.
And you know, Elena, a lot
Nothing.
of people say like this, but this is how I am. This is how my wife married me. She knows I'm like this. Or this is how my husband met me. He knows this is how I am. But that's an excuse. That's an excuse for the person not to have to deal with what they need to change. When you say this is how I am, you're saying I'm not going to change. I'm not going to try to change. When the Bible actually tells us that it's our responsibility to kill those things in our nature that destroy our relationships. Our nature are things in you that you were born with. Maybe you are an argumentative person. You're a person that if someone says something you don't like, you carry that grudge, that anger for days, for weeks. I don't know what it is that you need to change, but don't put that responsibility on God. When He tells us, we are the ones that have to do this change.
And when you read that verse, God is not telling you, you who are reading, let your wife change. Let your wife put away the flesh. How is it written? I can't remember the whole thing.
To put to death the wrong things in our nature.
Yeah, because some people, they read and they think, oh, this would be good for my wife to read because she's like this. No, God is talking to you.
To me and to you and to all of us.
He is exposing. You see, the word of God sets people free. It's written. And when you hear this verse, when you read it, it wasn't, we didn't write it. It's there in the word of God. That verse exposes the truth about you. There's no more excuses for you to say, oh, I cannot change because of this, because it's not God's will. Maybe it's not God's will. It is God's will, and He's telling you, you change. You put aside your desires, your stubbornness.
And you know something very interesting to finalize this point is that when Jesus forgave the woman who was caught in adultery, He didn't say to her, you are forgiven, pray that you don't make the same mistake. He said, you are forgiven, go and sin no more. He was saying, it's your responsibility to make sure you don't sin anymore. Same thing. It's our responsibility to make sure that we are an exemplary husband, an exemplary wife, an exemplary boyfriend and girlfriend. Remember, God is calling us, He's calling you who are watching us now to see where the little things in you that need to be put to death are, and then you end those things in your behavior. All right? Let's watch now a testimony. When we come back, we are going to talk about this purpose we are having, this purpose of faith we are having in all our churches all over the world, of Hezekiah, how he overcame his enemies, and Sunday now you will have an opportunity to do that as well. Thank you very much for sharing your story with people at home today. Give us an idea of what you went through in your life. Tell us a little bit about what you went through.
For me, everything started like when I was 5. From age of 5, I was abused by female. And then later on, it continued by 12, I was abused. It was like every 3 years, I was abused by different people. None of them ever been my family members. But the worst part, when I turned 14, I got raped. And then for me, when I got raped, it was like everything just turned upside down for my life. I felt like I lost my identity. And then from that, then, especially when I came to the UK, everything just turned upside down. Because of that, I started drinking heavily, I started smoking, I started dating my first boyfriend. And then through that relationship, because I wasn't happy, I feel so empty inside of myself of all those things that has happened to me. So because I was so empty like that, so I needed someone to be by my side. And then when I started dating my ex, I was like 16, he was like 22. And then we stayed like 6 years relationship. It was unfaithful from beginning. But because I didn't have more confidence within myself, so I didn't know what to do. I just stayed in that relationship.
Did you know he was being unfaithful to you?
Yeah, I knew. But when you lack that confidence within yourself, you don't think you're beautiful, doesn't think, anyone out there gonna want you. So you just say, okay, let me just stay in this relationship. Through staying in that relationship, I have an abortion a couple of times, about like 6 times. 5 to 6 times, I can't really remember. And the reason why I was having all those abortions, because in my mind, because I haven't really forgive those people that has hurt me. So in my mind, I feel like if I have a child, it will be a son. And the thought of thinking having a child will be a son, that in my head, like, oh, if you grow up, we're going to be raping other girls, like they did it to me. So because of that, I always go out there having an abortion. It used to be like every year, every year in the relationship that I was with him, I always end up having an abortion. No matter how much I try to prevent it, it always happened. And then because of that, the emptiness that I was feeling myself, I used to go all the time club, I used to drink, and then almost all my friends, none of them knew what was happening inside of me. It was like I have 2 personalities. Outside of my friend, all babbling, laughing. But when I come home, because I live by myself, when I come home, it's like I could cry to my sleep. And the worst part, it was like in the relationship that I was, it became to the point like I knew that the guy was unfaithful. I could see a lot of things that he was doing with to me. But because I just lacked that confidence, I just lacked that boldness, say to myself, you know what, I'm going to go out there, do things. I even try in the relationship to be unfaithful, to try to do something else, but it was like it didn't work out because of the low self-esteem that I had.
So you went through abuse.
Yes.
You went through rape.
Yes.
You went through unfaithfulness. The person you were with for 6 years was unfaithful to you.
Yeah.
Did you ever try to solve this problem? Did you try something to find happiness? I know you said you were drinking, you were clubbing. Did you ever try to find something that would take away this emptiness and this low self-esteem that you had?
What I tried, it was drinking, smoking, going out, club, having fun.
Did that work?
It didn't work because after I did that, at the end of the day, I have to come home. And then when I come home, this where my problem lies on me. So it was like I tried everything, like nothing worked. I tried what I thought that was helpful. We tried to sit down to speak. Even though because of being abused, being raped, I even started going to and having abortion. I even started going, when I was going to college, I was going for counseling because it became to the point it's like my head, I couldn't really think properly.
Were you able to forgive the people that abused you, to forgive the person who raped you? Were you ever able to forgive, or you carried, what did you feel towards those people inside of you?
I have a lot of anger inside of me. I was so beaten. I used to be those type of girls that I love fighting. Everything I'll fight. And then I fight guys, like they can be big. Like I always want to release my anger on someone because I felt like they took something that without asking my permission, especially the men who said I was raped. I was like, they took something that they never asked my permission.
There are people who go through what you went through and they never recover. How did your life change? Because you're here to tell your story now because things changed.
Yes.
How did your life change?
My life changed when I came to the UCKJ Help Center. I got invited. I knew about the church, but I got invited to come. I was like, okay, let me come, let me try. And then when I came there, I started learning how to use my faith. But what really made me change, it was an event that they have, a day of decision. So when I came to that event, I make my decision. I said, like, from now on, I want to change. It wasn't easy, but I keep my decision, my vow that I made. And from that, they want to see things changing, doing the channel prayer, taking part to services, like coming Sunday, Wednesday or Friday, start taking part to services. And then from that, then I started learning how to start using my faith. And then the main thing for me, it was learning how to forgive. That is what I really found it hard. And then when I understood that the more I'm keeping those anger inside of me, those grudges inside of me, I'm not helping myself. I'm hurting myself. So when I understood that, then that's when I let go of this, and then from that, then that's how things
Are
change.
you totally free from the anger you had?
Yes, I am.
And you said you didn't know your value before. Do you know your value now?
Now I know my value.
That's great. Would you be happy to show people at home who you are, and so they can see through your smile and through your face that you are different?
Yes, I can. My name is Maggie. I overcome abuse, rape, and a faithful relationship that lasted for 6 years. And then today, I'm a new person and I value myself.
You see there another very powerful story of what faith can do. When we talk about the shame, the humiliation that people live through, I believe that the greatest humiliation a person can face is the one in the love life. Because if you're going through a humiliation in your finances, as long as your marriage is solid, both of you can overcome that together. If there's an illness, a temporary illness, the same thing. If the marriage is solid, the relationship is solid, you can overcome that. But when the problem is in the marriage, it makes everything else become destabilized. Your finances, they suffer. Your mental state, your work, your business, everything suffers. If you are going through a problem right now in your relationship, don't be foolish to try to solve this with your own strength. Don't try to solve it by yourself. That's the problem many times, Elena. The wife is not happy with the way the relationship is, so they force the husband to change, and things get worse. You have to go to the altar with your challenge, your offering of challenge, your letter of shame to your God, so that He can make the change that you cannot make.
People have to understand that the only person that can help you and me and you is God. And through this story of Hezekiah, we see clearly you have to go to God, present your problem to Him. But many times, and you know, God delivered him quickly. It didn't take long.
As soon as he came to the altar,
Exactly.
because before that he was trying to do things with his own strength.
Yeah, which is what people do these days. They call a friend, they write on Facebook,
They read books.
they read books, self-help books, they go to a therapist. Nothing wrong with going to therapists, but there are things that may be happening that, you know, just go to God. God is the one that can solve impossible cases. Actually, He's specialized in doing that. And further on to the story of Hezekiah, we see another example. But, you know, this is amazing. All you need to do is to go to Him, go to the altar, resolve your problem there.
This Sunday you have that opportunity. And you know the great thing about the UCKG, the Succeeding Life Center? Sometimes you have a church, one of our churches, in your neighborhood. And it's a small church. But no matter where you go, there is an altar. Sometimes the church doesn't have some things. A baptism pool, permanent there, or, you know,
Beautiful walls.
beautiful facilities, but there is always an altar. One thing that our church will never lack is the altar. Why? Because beautiful walls, beautiful baptism pool doesn't solve your problem. You can be baptized anywhere, in the river, anywhere. But the altar must always be there, because that's where you go with your faith to challenge God so He can change your life. All right? Don't forget, you can send us your questions directly here on the chat window. We always check. Or you can send us to our messenger. Okay? Feel free to do that, and we will reply to the messages, the questions here. We always try to avoid using names so no one feels embarrassed that their name is read out on air. And we hope that today's program was a blessing to all of you. Enjoy now the program Miracles Can Happen from our church in New Zealand. God bless you. Bye-bye.